Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the League of Europe Formula One YouTube channel for the Formula 2 season. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmentalist. I will be taking you through proceedings, as always, for Formula 2. Back with me this week, I'm not on my own anymore, back with me this week is QVR Daka. How you doing? How you doing, mate?
Hello, Aidan. Yep, thanks for having me yet again for what should be this time the first round of the season at Bahrain International Circuit. Really looking forward to this one. Of course, we ran through the format, one shot, 50% feature race, 50% sprint race, and at the moment in the lobby, we have 15 drivers raring to go to get ready to this time at least kick off their season.
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, if you weren't here last week, if you didn't tune into the stream last week, or you weren't racing last week, you may or may not know that round one was meant to be at Australia, but yeah, the Codemaster servers were down last Tuesday, so unfortunately we couldn't get the round finished. We tried a couple of times to get the round underway, but unfortunately that was not able to be done. So officially, Bahrain is now the first round of the championship, and coming into Bahrain, obviously a completely different circuit to what Australia was last time, obviously last week. What do you kind of expect from this race? Is there anyone really, other than obviously our last season's champion Toxic, is there anyone that really stands out to you as a possible threat today?
Again, well, I'm just looking to this grid. I'm going to lean again to his teammate QVR Chill, basically because we know how good he is in these F2 cars. And even though he didn't really put up a title threat last time out, we saw how much pace he had in the pre-season race at Britain. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he shapes up as well. But we've got, again, a lot of sort of unknown quantities on this grid, a lot of familiar faces as well as the drivers are beginning to ready up. So we are just seconds away, moments away. We're getting this underway. Bahrain International Circuit. We'll see how they all step up.
Absolutely, yeah, and another thing to look out for as well, obviously, is the one-shot qualifying system that we have. Obviously, one lap and that's it. There's no redos. There's no extra goes in qualifying. So if you mess up your first lap in qualifying, that is a big mistake for you, and it could really affect your feature race result. As we saw last week, when we were trying to get the Australia race going, we actually managed to get two one-shot qualifying sessions in, and it just goes to show how different it was. Because in the first session, the first one-shot qualifying session, it was Toxic from Larking on the front row, and then the second qualifying session, Verstappen was almost a second quicker than anyone else in the second session. So it just goes to show how important one-shot qualifying is.
Yeah, exactly. It's so unpredictable. It's so high-pressured. So these drivers are going to have to bring their A game to the table if they want to be up the top of the grid. Of course, you invalidate, you miss an apex, it can set you up for a shocker down there, and you can finish a lot lower than you expected. Of course, that's the same for all the drivers. They have got to be razor focused, because otherwise they could find their race days coming up very short, and they're going to have a long road ahead of them. So that's one shot qualifying that we're about to see, so crucial.
Absolutely, yeah, and obviously Bahrain is a little bit easier to overtake round than Australia would have been last week, so it's not the end of the world, but obviously starting at the front of the field at Bahrain is a massive advantage. You want to get that cleaner, you want to break the DRS from the people behind, so look out for people to try and get as far up the front of the grid as possible, as per usual, but starting at the back isn't the end of the world here. It is relatively easy to overtake around this track. There are 3 DRS zones, obviously, down to turn 4, to turn 1, and down into turn 11 as well, so look out for those in the race. But here we go. For qualifying, we're going to be on board with Game Boys for our first qualifying of this, our first official qualifying of the season. So let's see what Game Boys can do on its up around Bahrain into turn 1. Long run down into turn 1, one of the longest on the calendar. Breaks just after the 150 meter board. Has a lot of mid-corner understeer there at the first corner, but gets on the traction nicely coming through turn 2. Very easy to lose traction on the exit of that corner as he goes through the kink of turn 3 onto the DRS straight before turn 4. Let's wait and see how quickly he's able to do. Kyle has already retired from the session, so that just goes to show that it's so easy to invalidate in the early part of this lap. Through turn 4 nicely, coming up now to turn 6 and 7. Obviously the little kink before that is turn 5. He takes a lot of speed out of the corner there, coming through the right left there, coming down into turn 8 now as well. Again, wide of the apex, really struggling with low speed understeerers Game Boys at the moment. Obviously everyone on the same setup as Toxic now has retired from the session. It seems he's made a mistake. So going to turn 9 and 10, so easy to lock up. Game Boys misses his braking point, but just about keeps the car on the road. Down into the second DRS straight on the lap now, coming down towards turn 11, a mid-speed corner. Quite hard to overtake here. Obviously the braking turn is not that long. Brakes at about 75 metres. Coming into turn 11, a lot of understeer, but misses the outside curb. Gets a run through turn 12. Don't want to hit the inside curb here. It can easily spin your car out. A lot of understeer in the high speed coming towards now turn 13. Very long corner, seems to go on forever. So easy to run out wide, but he keeps it nicely on the track. He's running bottom end of the top 10 at the moment. It's Verstappen at the front of the field once again. One shot qualifying, so we come into the final 2 corners. Into turn 14 and then just the kink of turn 15 straight after that. Not really a corner. Gets down into second gear, staying well away from the curbs on the inside and the outside towards the line. It looks like it's going to be Trident on pole once again. So Verstappen takes pole position by 0.3 of a second. Gameboys at the end of his lap is in 7th place and 1.2 seconds off our eventual pole sitter, which is QVR Verstappen again.
Indeed it is then, so he gets himself off on the right foot, and of course if he can get that start off the line it can put himself in such good shape. But the big story of qualifying, TTG Toxic, our defending champion, unable to set a time, and those 4 points go the way of QVR Verstappen, of course, for pole position. Larkin, Campbell, Chill, sort of a familiar top 4 you can say. These guys all putting up good performances, but Toxic at the back, well, he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to get himself up there. TTG Toxic to kick off the season, not the start he would have wanted at all.
Absolutely not, no. To run through the rest of the grid then, it's Tim in 5th ahead of Philippe 6th, Gameboy 7th, Alex in 8th, XL Ling is in 9th, and Jordan rounds off the top 10. Gary only down in P11, he really struggled in this qualifying session ahead of Leon, Ibo, Toxic and Carl T are the only ones not to set times, as you say, and disastrous start to the season really for our defending champion.
Indeed it is, but of course, as you mentioned, Bahrain, a pretty easy track to overtake on, so I suspect that he will have the capacity to start working his way through that field. As you can see there, a little bit unfamiliar, we have got daylight here at Bahrain International Circuit ahead of this Formula 2 feature race to kick off the season. Hopefully this time there's no dramas, but yeah, with of course Verstappen on pole is the perfect place to start. Clean side of the grid, he'll be really hoping that he can convert that in a run down into turn 1 and hold that lead from there on out.
Absolutely, and one thing to remember about Bahrain, hot track temperatures middle of the day for the feature race and for the sprint race as well, obviously coming after this as well, which means tyre temperatures are something to look out for. Obviously they run relatively soft compounds here for Formula 2 compared to obviously the hards and mediums you see somewhere else. We see soft medium at Bahrain, so tyre management is going to be key around this track. And another thing as well to remember is that last season we obviously ran a different kind of format for Formula 2, so it was a reverse championship order grid. We never had qualifying last year. Toxic, being the leader of the championship, often started at the very back of the grid and worked his way forwards brilliantly through those races, but having all of his main rivals at the front, do you think we'll see a masterclass from Toxic today, or do you think we'll maybe see Toxic from like I've seen in the TTL days, where he'll start at the back of the grid and struggle to get through the faster people at the front?
Well, I do think that he can definitely still at least get into the top 5. I think the kind of pace that he has shown, of course, across last season and in the build up to this season as well. So I wouldn't rule out Toxic just yet, but he does have to be careful, because if you think about it, he can maybe afford a couple of bad one-shot qualies in a season, but if his rivals are consistent, he needs to watch out for that there. If he does this every week, then it's really going to put him on the back foot, starting at the back when all of his rivals up there on the top 2 rows. Then of course it's a lot of work to do for him. Of course, we're going to see if he can pull it together on this occasion. Verstappen, Larkin, front row, we know the credentials those 2 drivers have, and with that such a wave of cars between themselves and Toxic, well, they've got to be feeling good about their chances today.
Absolutely, yeah, they've really got to be feeling their chances today. Having a look at the rest of the grid then for strategies, that's another thing to look out for. Obviously, in qualifying, for the start of the feature race, there's a free choice of tyre for everyone on the grid. So let's see what people have gone with. So the top 2 have gone with the soft tyre. Campbell and Tim, 3rd and 5th, are the first people on the mediums. They're looking to go long at the start of this race and then looking to maybe gain time on the softs at the end. We have seen the alternate strategy work quite well in previous races, so I wonder whether this is the better strategy for Bahrain. The other people on the mediums at the moment are Leon in 12th and then Toxic and Carl T at the very back of the grid. They're wanting to try something a little bit different to work their way forwards later on in the race. But before we get going for the feature race, I'm going to push you for a top 3. Who do you think is going to get the podium today?
I'm going to say Larkin for the win. I think that he may actually have a chance of jumping Verstappen off the start. He's notoriously good off those starts. Verstappen will come home in 2nd, and I reckon, this is a bold one, but on that alternate strategy, I reckon that Toxic's going to fight his way all the way through to the top 3. We'll see if he can pull that one off. I think there may be mistakes for the drivers in front, but of course, we've got 16 laps to decide that ahead of us there. I'll leave it to you to take us through it. Verstappen, Larkin front row. Let's see how they face off.
Here we go then, Carl lining up at the very back of the grid. He's the last one to slot into his grid slot before we get going for the first feature race of the season. Is it going to be Trident or is it going to be BWT Arden leading into turn 1? We'll have to wait and see. A little bit of a delay before the lights come on by the looks of things. Hopefully we haven't got some sort of issue before the race gets going. But here we go. Here come the lights ahead of the 5 lights on. Who's going to get the best start? And away they go, and it looks like a brilliant start from Larkin. Like you said, he's had a brilliant start, but he's alongside Verstappen going down into turn 1. Campbell, one of those mediums, has fallen through the field off the line. Here comes Larkin down the inside. We've already got a spinner at the back. That's Ibo. He's got caught out, maybe with contact with someone, but Larkin down the inside of turn 1. Verstappen still there. A little bit of wheel banging. That was very, very close, but Larkin takes the lead coming out of turn 3. Further in behind, Tim on the medium. Oh, yeah, contact further back. I wonder who that was with. Was that Verstappen that had contact? Where's Tim come from? Tim's all the way down the inside. Verstappen's taking the lead. Larkin falling down the field. Here comes Chill round the outside. He's trying to take 3rd place away from Tim. Here comes Larkin back down the inside of Verstappen once again. They're still side by side coming down towards turn 8. Chill in behind, looking the faster of the guys. Verstappen running with front wing damage on the front right end plate. He's locking up into turn 8. Chill trying to make it 3 wide, but there's not enough room. Here comes Philippe round the inside, around the outside in the other Arden car. He's had a great start. He's up into 4th place. He's ahead of Tim now. Alex is up into 6th. He's had a good start. Campbell from third on the grid down to 7th. A little bit of a Constantina effect, and Campbell spins on the exit of turn 10. A little bit of contact from behind. He's dropped all the way down to 14th. A terrible start for Campbell. Looking up front of the field though, Verstappen just about holds on, but with front wing damage, surely this is Larkin's race to take now from Verstappen.
Indeed it is. Of course, Larkin seemingly almost slowing down on the straight. I'm not sure what happened there, but Verstappen ran into the back of him and picked up wing damage for his troubles. Further back, got Toxic down the inside. Oh, but I think that's Alex there who's got pushed out wide. And now Game Boys gets back up and alongside, but not quite enough of a run. Toxic 6th on the opening lap there. Superb stuff. But of course, Verstappen now leading the race. He's going to have a bottleneck behind him with that wing damage. No downforce on that car. Is he going to pull towards the pit lane? No. Trying to make that slipstream from Larkin in behind. But the Arden's going to pick up that toe regardless. They are close up to the back of the race leader there. Looks towards the outside. Going towards turn 1 is very, very late on the brakes. Can he pull that one off there? He's got more downforce and grip, of course. But Verstappen is still right there alongside him there. Traction off of turns 2 and 3. It's with Larkin. There's a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, and now they carry down the straight. Watch the inside, sorry, as Chill makes it 3 wide almost towards turn 4. Has the inside line on Larkin. Verstappen drops back round the outside. The Larkin also lead, and Verstappen comes back at Chill now. Outside at turn 6. Trying to pull that one off there. Chill's going to squeeze him onto the curb at 7, and Chill round the outside into 2nd position. Verstappen into the back of him and makes a mistake. Philippe, a brilliant start. He's up to 3rd now on the 2nd lap of this race.
Tim's round.
Verstappen drops back. Tell Tim round, what's happened there?
Tim spun on his own on the exit of turn 8. Looks like he got poor traction. He's spun out of a possible P4 place. Verstappen absolutely swamped with that front wing damage. Brilliant opportunistic move from Chill to get down the inside for turn 4, but Larkin takes the lead of the race ahead of Chill and Philippe. BWT Arden 1-3 at the moment. What a great start it's been for them. But yeah, Toxic meanwhile up into 5th place. What a dream start for him on the alternate strategy. All ahead of all the other people on the medium tyres at the moment. Look, he had a double overtake going on into turn 13 as well. So brilliant stuff from Toxic in the primer. Looking further behind, Game Boys running in 6th. A bit of a gap back to Alex in 7th. Start from the very back of the grid. He's 8th from 15th on the grid, so a great start for the Dams car. Ling and Gary are side by side now for 9th and 10th. Ling's on the outside, Gary looking down the inside towards turn 14. Is he going to be close enough, or is he going to tuck in behind for the straight? He's going to keep it down the inside. Ling brakes a little bit later. Oh, that was very, very close, and he gets a little bit sideways. Yeah, Campbell's got a brilliant run on the outside of Gary. Gary can't react to Campbell being there. Campbell's going to breeze around the outside of the Carlin man and retake P10. He's back into the top 10. Can he go for a move on Ling, maybe into turn 1? He is closing in ever so slightly. DRS is now enabled. He looks to the inside. He's really late on the brakes. Can he pull it off? I think Ling's gone a little bit deep. He has. Ling reacted and went too deep into the corner. Campbell's going to force his way through at turn 2. Brilliant move from Campbell. He's back up into 9th. A great recovery. Meanwhile, Philippe has dropped 2 places. He's dropped behind Verstappen, and now here comes Toxic round the outside of turn 4 on the medium tyres. He's got incredible grip at the moment. He's past Philippe, and he's all over the back of Verstappen for 3rd.
What a sensational start so far this has been for TGG. Toxic now he hones in on Kvyat Verstappen, his rival, just in front of him there. Verstappen still nursing that front wing damage, but he's not doing a half-bad job, I have to say. Still running in the podium and managing to overhaul Philippe in that fight as well. We've got to keep an eye on some tight fights behind as well. Ling under pressure from Gary back there, but we have to keep an eye out. This battle for the podium is going to be one to look out for. We've seen Toxic, he's taken no prisoners so far in this race, and these high downforce corners are where Verstappen is going to suffer. That car is just scrubbing out wide there. He's not got that grip. He's just about able to stay ahead of Toxic for now. As Game Boys round the outside through turn 12 on Philippe. Can he pull that one off there? The Ordnance still has the line on the inside there, but round the outside goes Game Boys. Can he pull that one off? There's still wheel to wheel on exit. Game Boys with a little bit more momentum coming off of turn 13. He's just got his nose ahead, does Philippe. Keep his nose on the inside, no, backs out of it. Game Boys, a superlative move. He's up into the top 5 then, and he's going to try and move forward up towards Verstappen and Toxic just up the road.
Absolutely incredible move from Game Boy's Philippe, though, coming back at him. He had the DRS. He was behind coming through the DRS detection point, and Philippe's going to breeze past Game Boy's back down into turn 1. But Game Boy's, look how late he is on the brakes. He sends it down the inside. How on earth did he get that one stopped? Philippe can't react to it. Game Boy's keeps P5. Great defense. Meanwhile, Toxic has breezed past Verstappen for P3, and he's on the back of his Prema teammate already for P2. Only a second difference between them. Larkin's broken DRS to chill, so he's looking to break. He's looking to break away from the two Prema cars at the moment. But at the moment, the mediums look like such a strong tyre, as Campbell's now worked his way up back into 7th place. He's passed Kyle and Alex somewhere on this previous lap, and he's up into 7th. Great comeback so far from him. He's looking to score all the points that Verstappen is seemingly going to lose with that front wing damage.
Yeah, it's a bit of damage limitation now for those Trident drivers there. They've got to try and work their way through. Of course, Larkin holds a decent lead up in front. What's happened?
Verstappen, massive rear lock there into turn 9 and 10. I don't know how on earth he didn't spin the car coming out of turn 10. Well held from him, but he's really struggling. Looks like he's struggling with tyre temperatures as well. His front tyres will be cooking at this point, the amount of understeer he's got in the car. Meanwhile, we've had our first pit stops in this race. Leon, Ibo and Jordan have all come into the pits. They've met the mandatory pit stop rule, so they are officially able to get to the end of the race. Leon's on a set of softs though, so he's going to have to pit again. Meanwhile, Toxic only 3 tenths behind Chill. The softs, Toxic, a massive moment there on the exit of turn 13, well held, but it looks like the soft tyres are not a good race tyre. Toxic is absolutely flying. He's about a second a lap faster than the two cars in front of him. Let's see if he can get a move on his teammate down into turn 1. Do any of the leaders come into the pit lane? These soft tyres don't look drivable at this point, but the top two stay out. Toxic looks like he's going to get an easy move on his teammate, but Chill's looking to defend to the inside. Here comes Toxic down the inside. Chill backs off. Toxic up into 2nd place already from 14th on the grid. It's only lap 5.
And he's really in Larkin now. We've seen that gap come down, and now your race leader is going to be looking over his shoulder there. He's thinking, where on earth has this man come from? Now he's threatening my race lead. Chill still sits in behind with DRS, but he's not going to be able to get close enough to Toxic. We'll see if he can at least hang on to the back of the reigning champion. Further down the grid there, close battles. We've still got Philippe on the back of Game Boys, just about sitting in that DRS, and we've also got Leg trying to fend off their Alex. But of course now, Campbell is going to be working his way through towards this group in the top 5 there. He's still got a chance of some decent points despite the spin, but he's still got a few seconds to make up. Lockie up brakes a little bit, going into turn 8 just about keeps that car sorted, but it is Larkin out in the lead. But Toxic, the ground that he's made up here, and with the tyres only increasing in grip relative to the soft runners, you have to imagine that maybe it'll be a formality. Larkin's not going to give up his lead easily, but the way Toxic just making his way through, does Larkin have anything to defend with?
At this point, it doesn't look like that, does it? Because Toxic is so much faster than everyone else around him. And Campbell, likewise, he's gained about 8 tenths on Philippe in the last lap or so. So he's absolutely flying on the medium tyres himself as well. Kyle T on the mediums. He's doing a good job at the moment. Not quite got the same pace as the guys in front. He's dragging Excelling along with him. Alex in 10th as well on the softs. Gary's lost a lot of pace here. He's dropped well off the back of Ling, and he's now down into 11th place. 2 seconds off the back of Alex. Not been the best start, unfortunately, for the LON team.
Race leader at Larkin.
Yeah, Larkin into the pit lane. The first of the front runners to come in. Chill and Verstappen also react. Chill speeds in the pit lane as well. That is such a crucial penalty for Chill. No other point to get rid of that penalty in this race in a pit stop. So he's going to have to try and gap the people behind by more than 5 seconds to keep the place that he ends up finishing in. They all come into the pit lane though. All of the soft runners, bar Philippe and Alex, have come into the pit lane. Larkin's going to come out. It looks like he wasn't held up in the pit lane. Have to wait and see how everyone else does in the pit lane. Verstappen has changed his front wing, I believe, by the looks of things, and he's going to come out behind Chill. So Verstappen's got some ground to make up already. Game Boys comes out just behind Verstappen, but Verstappen has already lost at least 1 place in the pit stops.
Actually, I think you might be wrong in that one. I'm looking at visually, and it doesn't look like his front wing has changed at all.
No, he hasn't. No, I was wrong. Yeah, you are right. I got that completely mixed. Thought Verstappen was ahead of Chill. Because crazy to start this race. I'm already flustered, but Verstappen is kept the damage on his front wing, which is a bit. Is obviously the pit stop length is massive for a changing front wing in Formula 2, because once the people that do the front tyres obviously have to change the front wing in Formula 2, so it's at least an 8 or 9 second delay in the pit stops to change the front wing. But do you think it's worth it with the amount of damage he has?
Well, to be honest, I've seen it, but if you look at it, he's not actually lost that much ground. Massive rear lock going into turn 8, and just about keeps that on the island. I suspect that Game Boys is probably going to be able to reel him in with the amount that Verstappen is struggling, but he would have given up that position anyway. I don't think it's a bad call necessarily, because he still seems to have half-decent pace, obviously not as much as he otherwise would have done, but at the moment, he's holding on just about fine up with those front runners and keeping himself in the podium fight for the time being.
Absolutely. Let's have a look then. Does Philippe come into the pits? He's already been caught by Campbell. Look at that. Cap's come down from about 2.5 seconds to about 0.3 before Philippe dived into the pit lane. He's another one picking up a speeding penalty in the pit lane. That's another one to fall foul of it. Here comes Alex. He's into the pit lane as well. So all of our soft runners have now pitted. It's lap 7 that we're on now. We're nearly halfway through this race already. Where has it gone? But Philippe puts the medium tyres on. Where does he come out relative to the Gagler cars he was fighting in? He just beats Alex to the pit stall. So Philippe is going to get away without being held up. Alex is changing his front wing, so he's picked up damage somewhere. Here comes Philippe down the pit lane. He's going to be behind Verstappen. It looks like he's going to be behind Game Boys as well. It's going to be very close, but yeah, Game Boys looks to have the momentum on the pit straight, and he's going to get past Philippe. But Philippe doing a good job at the moment. He's sticking with these guys pretty well, considering that obviously the guys at the front have a lot more experience in Formula 2 cars. Looking further behind, Alex is going to come out behind Gary and closer to Jordan at this rate. He's very slow in the pit lane. So after the first round of pit stops, we just got the top 4 out at the moment on the medium tyres. Let's see what their pace is like relative to the likes of Larkin and Chill. But surely, at this point, Toxic is in the pound seat to win this one.
Indeed he is. Of course, when he puts on those soft tyres there, fresh soft tyres, he is going to be a man on a mission there. He's pulled out an 8.5 second gap almost. QVR Campbell, who obviously is no slouch at all. I'm intrigued to see where these guys pit. It's going to be in the next few laps, I suspect. But of course, they don't want to leave it too late and, you know, lose that much time with Larkin and co having that undercut. So I'm intrigued to see if Toxic is going to come in, because obviously at the same time, you don't want to be putting too much pressure on those soft tyres. Otherwise, you're going to be driving on, as Martin Brodden would say, 50 pence piece by the end of the race. So these guys have got to be careful with how they manage their strategy here.
Absolutely. We're going to have to copy Sky Sports with their Formula 1 bingo at this point. But yeah, Toxic, I look to maybe see him around lap 10, I would say. I think you can get maybe 5 or 6 laps out of these soft tyres at the end of the race. It seems to be whenabouts people came into the pits off the soft tyres at the start. So maybe look to them to come in at around lap 10. But Toxic at the moment steadily pulling away from Campbell still. Obviously, Campbell had a bit of a moment himself early in the race, but still a near 9-second gap at this point is crazy. Larkin, though, sets the fastest lap of the race, immediately beaten by Chill. But Larkin and Chill absolutely flying at the moment on those mediums. They're really enjoying them compared to the softs. Looking in further behind, Verstappen is actually gapping Game Boys ever so slightly, so Game Boys doesn't quite have the pace to catch up to his QVR teammate. Obviously they're running in different teams, but still, Game Boys doesn't have the pace to catch Verstappen at the moment, and Philippe as well can't catch Game Boys. So Verstappen looking pretty safe in P7, which will become, by the time everyone comes into the pits, about P4 or 5.
Yeah, I suspect that Campbell is going to be one that's potentially chasing him down towards the end of the race on those fresh softs, but we're just going to have to wait and see. On the last lap, by the way, Larkin, Chill and so on were just over half a second quicker than Toxic, about 0.6 of a second. So Toxic is losing time at the moment, and of course he's going to have to get those tyres off as soon as he can, otherwise he's going to have too much to make up. But don't forget, he was only about 1.5 seconds shy of Larkin before the pit stop, so I don't imagine he's losing too much time, and he will surely be seconds quicker once he puts on those tyres. No pit stop for the time being, but I reckon it's going to be Chill and Toxic. That delta, the two Prema teammates, are going to be very close when Toxic comes into the pits. So yet again, that teammate dynamic is going to be interesting. Chill, well, is he going to fight his champion teammate if they come out of the pits side by side? It's going to be an interesting dynamic. We'll see how it evolves in the next few laps.
Absolutely, you took the words out of my mouth. We saw obviously earlier on Toxic caught Chill just before the pit stop phase, and it looked like Chill was defending from Toxic down the pit straight, so he did put up a little bit of a fight to his Prema teammate. It's whether Chill wants to do the same at the end, as Larkin again sets the fastest lap of the race on a 41.0. Got very good pace at the moment on the medium tyres. It's really a straight fight between those two. Obviously with Chill's time penalty and Verstappen's front wing damage, it's only really a fight between Larkin and Toxic at the moment, barring any sort of craziness towards the end of the race. But still, look at the gap that Toxic's pulling out to Campbell. It's nearly 10 seconds now. Toxic and Campbell, obviously these two were Toxic and Campbell were really the class of the field last season, but it seems that Toxic has gone up another level this time round. He's pulling away from Campbell. Campbell just does not have the pace of Toxic this time round.
Yeah, I think Campbell, maybe his confidence was knocked by that spin early on in the race, but of course now he's really up against it. Toxic is lapping at least half a second quicker, I would say, at this stage. One thing to look out for, of course, we know Chill has that 5-second penalty. He's been slowly but surely pulling away from Verstappen. That gap, just about 3.5 seconds now. I think that could be very close at the end of the race then. So if Chill is going to have to get his foot down and Verstappen is going to have to stay in it, because I reckon that those two could be very, very tight for that critical 5-second gap. And that could decide who stands on the podium here today.
Absolutely, and another thing obviously look out for is when Campbell comes into the pit lane, he's going to be around the likes of Game Boys and Philippe, I would say, when he comes in. You're going to have to look to see whether he can get within that 5-second window of Chill on those soft tyres. Still no pit lane for the top two at the moment. They're staying out for the time being. We're on to lap 10, but towards the third of 2/3. There we go. Get my words out. We're getting towards the end of the race now, so we're getting towards that pit stop window for the soft runners as Philippe picks up a 3-second time penalty now, as does Campbell. Oh, Campbell on the inside of turn 2 picks up a 3-second time penalty, so there you go. That might have cost Campbell maybe a run at third place in this race with that time penalty. He's not going to be able really, unless he can manage his way to get within 2 seconds of Chill towards the end. That is going to be such a tall order for him to nick that third place on the podium. Meanwhile, Verstappen's actually slightly closing in on Chill at the moment.
Wow, indeed. Good spot. Because, yeah, he has pulled out a couple of tenths back towards his teammate. Chill cannot afford mistakes at this stage there. He was, of course, fighting for looking at a podium earlier on, but that is under such threat from the likes of Verstappen. Even Game Boys is just about, well, he's very tight with that. I suspect that Chill may have a little bit more speed in the tank, but he does have to keep pushing. You know, he can't exactly let himself go off here, because I think that Verstappen is very much still a threat for that podium. He's doing an admirable job. Of course, made that mistake on the opening lap, picked up that wing damage, but he's doing what he can, and that gap now just about ticking under 3 seconds then. Very respectable from Verstappen. Of course, he's really struggling, but at the moment just about hanging on. Chill's got to get his foot down here, otherwise he could be finding himself off the podium here.
Yeah, it was a real fight for third place at the moment. Yeah, Verstappen doing a brilliant job. It's just a shame to see him with that front wing damage. What the pace he could have shown if he had not got that front wing damage. We've obviously seen him on pole by 0.3 of a second. Verstappen could have been up and gone in this race with the pace that he's showing with the front wing damage he has. So great stuff from Verstappen to hold on to a good result despite the damage. Meanwhile, the top two are into the pit lane. So Toxic and Campbell are pitting on at the end of lap 10, start of lap 11 for the soft tyres. Toxic into the pit lane. Campbell's in. Kyle T's in. Is Tim going to go into the pit lane? He's not. Tim's going to stay out, and Larkin is actually catching Tim hand over fist. So if Larkin catches Tim on this lap, that could be crucial as to whether Larkin wins this race or not. He could get stuck behind Tim, and that could allow Toxic to catch up as Toxic comes out of the pit lane, actually barely losing any time to Larkin. It's only 1.8 seconds. That's much closer than I expected, and he's clear of Chill already.
That is quite remarkable from Toxic, and I suspect that he could be heading for a race win. It really depends. Tim could play a key role in this one there, if he's going to hold up Larkin or not. We will see. Campbell just about manages to get ahead of Philippe. Does Philippe fancy his chances going down towards turn 4? He looks towards that inside line, but Campbell has much more tyre grip and is able to be much later on the brakes. So he maintains P7 and now chases down Game Boys just down in front. We know he has that 3-second penalty, so he's got to try and get on with it now, but Campbell is going to be another man on a charge. Kyle T as well is going to be another man charging, but Toxic already 1.5 seconds adrift of Larkin, who now climbs onto the back of the Virtuoso in front. Does he have any opportunity going into the next few corners? He is later on the brakes. He's got 6 laps more in those tyres there. Tim runs wide on the exit there, and Larkin is going to give it a chance. Round the inside of turn 12 is going to be, sweeps around. Doesn't even have much contest. Tim had to get out of that one, and now Toxic is sitting in behind. He's going to have a bit of a tow down this back straight down, and he can use the RS to kind of leapfrog his way back up towards Larkin. So we'll see how this all plays out. Does Tim stay out? Does he come into the pits? If he stays out, he will still have DRS, but look at the momentum that Toxic has. They're much more grip, and Tim pulls towards the pit lane. He gets out of the way. Toxic now DRS, as I mentioned, that leapfrog effect, and he is getting towards that critical 1 second window to Larkin. The fight for the win is about to be decided. Just 5 laps to go in this race then. The race is not over just yet. Larkin trying to hang on out in front there, Toxic bearing down on him.
Absolutely. Larkin has done an admirable job in this race. He's absolutely left the people behind that are on the same strategy as him. Chill can't keep up. Verstappen obviously with that damage, and Game Boys and the lights can't keep up with Larkin's pace. He's upped his pace again. Set the fastest lap of the race on that last lap with the help of DRS, but he is upping his pace as much as possible to try and hold on to that race lead ahead of Toxic. What a race win this would be from last season's champion from 14th on the grid to win this race, but still, he's got to get past Larkin at some point. It doesn't look like Toxic is pushing too hard. It looks like he's trying to keep those soft tyres in check and not overheat them, not push them too hard and not ruin them before he gets close to Larkin for a move. But look how late he is on the brakes for turn 9, nearly into the back of Larkin. He was so late on the brakes. It's only 0.4 of a second coming down towards turn 11. He's not going to be close enough here. It looks like we might see a move into turn 1 though from Toxic. Larkin's going to really have to defend towards turn 1. Looking further down the field, at the moment it's a battle really between Excelling and Kyle T for the spot of reverse grid pole for the sprint race. Kyle T catching at Ling at least a second a lap. Can he get close enough and pass the Charoux driver before the race finishes? Meanwhile, Campbell's only half a second behind Game Boys. He's absolutely flying on his soft tyres as well. And Toxic now will go to the race lead. Toxic only a tenth and a half behind Larkin. He's actually having a look to the inside for the final corner, but he's not going to be close enough to make a move. Here goes Toxic though, round the last corner. Is he going to be close enough? Surely he's close enough for a move down into turn 1. Larkin though got DRS off of Leon there, so Larkin's got a little bit of something to defend. A 40.1 from Toxic, a great lap. Larkin all the way to the inside of the track. Toxic has to go to the outside. Can he get the move stuck on the outside? He brakes earlier than Larkin. Yeah, Larkin just about gets the car stopped. Well done from him. Toxic can't get underneath Larkin on the exit of turn 1. Larkin parks it beautifully. Campbell, meanwhile, is going to breeze past Game Boys to turn 1. Game Boys can't fight it. Campbell's up into 5th. Toxic looking for a move at turn 4. Look how late! That's so late on the brakes. Larkin just gives him enough room. Larkin just holds on. That was so late on the brakes from Toxic. It was a ballsy move to pull it off. It didn't quite work in the end. Great defensive driving from Larkin, but Toxic is trying so hard to get past, and Larkin's defending brilliantly at the moment, but we've still got 3.5 laps to go. Can Larkin hold on for another 3.5 laps?
It seems unlikely. Leon did Larkin such a massive favour on that last lap, and now he's got nothing separating him and the reigning champion bearing down on him. DRS is now active again. Is Larkin going to give him the inside line this time? It's going to be tight. Does Toxic go for it on the brakes? Sets it behind just for the time being. Larkin has done such an admirable job of holding on to this lead, but with 3 laps to go, how long can he hold out for up at the front? You can see that understeer, the dirty air is starting to kick in. The tyres may be overheating for Toxic. He's got to try and keep them in the window, but he gets a much better race off of turn 13. But he is going to sit in behind. I think he knows they can try and get that DRS. Is he going to go for a lunge and try and compromise Larkin's lane into the last corner? He sits in behind. Larkin very wide, very late on the brakes. I think this is now a done deal. Does Larkin have anything left to fight with Toxic now in the slipstream? DRS is open there. Larkin doesn't defend the inside. I think he knows that his chances of holding this race win are becoming close to nil. Toxic breezes past on the main straight. Larkin does come back at him slightly on the brakes, but ultimately he had nothing to fight with there. Futile defence potentially of that first place, and Toxic from 14th on the grid, now establishing himself up at the front, half a second lead, and I think barring any major mishaps, there is nothing separating him in this race win now.
What a comeback drive this has been from Toxic, from 14th on the grid to lead the race with 3 laps to go. What a drive it's been from the Prema man, and what a start to the season it will be for Prema, with 3rd at the moment for Chill. He's got 3.5 seconds to Verstappen. It's just edging out enough for Chill to maybe hold on to 3rd place at this point in the race, but still, Toxic out in front now. It's a done deal really, isn't it, from this point onwards? Unless there's a mistake from Toxic, we can't see Larkin coming back at him. Larkin's done an admirable job in this race. He's done so well to hold on for the lead as long as possible. Toxic has a bit of a wobble there on the exit of turn 10, but gets away with it in the end. But Larkin's fully dropped back now. It's 0.8 of a second. Toxic is going to clear off into the distance with that clean air now. Looking further in behind, Campbell is catching his teammate for 4th, but obviously Campbell has a time penalty of his own, so Campbell isn't looking like he's going to get 4th from Verstappen at the moment. He's not catching quick enough. It looks like Campbell's going to have to settle for 5th as Gary picks up a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting. I think he might have come into contact actually with Tim somewhere in the middle sector, because Gary's gone off the road and Tim's gone past him, so I wonder if they've maybe gone side by side and there's been a little bit of contact between them. Meanwhile, Kyle's charge to the back of Ling for P8 has kind of come to a dead halt really. Kyle can't catch Ling anymore for 8th place, and Ling looking set at the moment for reverse grid pole with Toxic does a 39.9. What a lap.
As now to the outside goes Alex now, trying to take advantage of Gary's error earlier on in the lap there. Tries to hang it round. Gary just about able to keep it behind. He has a lap over the tyres and he's probably lit them up earlier on in the lap. We'll keep an eye on that fight over 11th place. But really, the Trident dynamic is now an interesting one. Campbell, a lot of rear locking going into turn 1. We've seen both of those teammates struggling a lot with that here this afternoon. But of course, Verstappen is just about hanging with that delta from Chill. Chill is slowly pulling away from that gap now 4 seconds, but I think Verstappen might just be fine. So what does Campbell do in this situation there? Does he spare his teammate, knowing that he's probably not going to get him on track, or not going to get him on penalties at least, or does he try and battle him on track anyway, and he might cost him a chance of fighting Chill for third place. That gap, 4.5 seconds, it is on a knife edge for the podium there, and there's such a good dynamic. Is Chill or Verstappen going to get this podium? I think Campbell's a little bit too far away to do anything as he slides going through the hairpin, but Verstappen beginning to lose out now. Maybe that front wing damage just to put more load on his tyres. But yeah, Chill is chasing that podium. Is he going to get it though? We're going to find out in the last lap or so there. The gap nearly 5 seconds, but not quite. And a penalty for Larkin. I don't know what that's going to throw in the spanner. I think he will hold P2 though. But yeah, with these two Tridents coming together on track, a spicy last lap in offer there. Let's see what happens.
4.9 seconds with a lap to go. It's so close for Chill to hold on to third place as Gary's retired from the session after a spin on the exit of turn 8, it looks like. So he's hit the wall on the inside of turn 8 and retired from the session. What a disastrous first race of the season it's been for Gary. He's not shown a lot of pace, and he's been at the bottom end of the top 10, and he's fallen foul of turn 8, unfortunately, as we start the final lap of the first race of the season. Chill 4.8 seconds ahead of Verstappen. Campbell only 6/10 back, but we've seen it from the Trident cars today. Both Tridents have been struggling massively with rear locking. Obviously, locking tyres, rear locking really in the main Formula 1 cars isn't much of an issue on this game, but for the Formula 2 cars it's a much bigger issue, and both Trident cars have struggled massively with locking their brakes, both front and rear, throughout, and it seems to be costing them tyre grip as well, as they're really fading now towards the end of the race. Campbell's catching Verstappen, but not at the rate he was, and Game Boy's only 3 seconds back. Game Boy's is almost within window of stealing 5th place from his QVR teammate, as whether Campbell decides to go for a move, like you say, on the Trident man towards the end of the lap. He is very close behind, but it doesn't look like he's going to go for a move. It looks like he's just going to stick him behind. We'll ride. There's a little bit of a wobble there as well. We'll have a look further up the field though. Toxic is coming towards the final sector of the lap. What a drive this has been from Toxic from the back of the grid to the front. He's 2.2 seconds clear of Larkin. It's been a brilliant drive from last season's champion. Looking at the two Tridents as well on the map, it looks like Campbell's not going to go for a move into turn 11. He's not close enough, but Chill has broken 5 seconds. Can he hold on to it into the final sector? Let's see whether he can do it. It's hovering. It's so close to the window of the time penalty, costing him the podium. But here comes Toxic into the final corner of the lap. What a drive it's been from last season's champion. He's going to come around the last 2 corners. It almost looked like a breeze for him in the end. He's going to cross the line and take the first race win of the season by 2 seconds ahead of Larkin. What a drive from Toxic. He wins ahead of Larkin in second place. Chill coming up to the line. It's just on the bubble. It's 5 seconds dead. Here comes Verstappen out the last corner. It's so close. 5,000ths of a second. Who's going to get it? It's going to be so close. He's not going to get it though. And Verstappen, I think, obviously, yeah, Verstappen crosses the line. He isn't going to get it. Campbell not going to get either. He's going to hold on to 5th. Actually, is Campbell. He takes 5th only by 1/10 of a second behind his teammate and 5/10 ahead of Game Boys. Philippe crosses the line with a 5-second penalty as well in 7th. Ling's going to look at Ling so close to stealing 7th from Philippe.
Wow.
900ths of a second, but he's going to hold on to P8 and take reverse grid pole for the sprint race. But what a opening race of the season, and what a drive from Toxic.
That was remarkable from Toxic, up 13 places in this race and winning in the end by a very comfortable margin, of course exaggerated by some time penalties, but yeah, that was remarkable from TTG Toxic. Of course, he's going to start further down the grid again for the sprint race, but even so, he's going to be fancying his chances and maybe be able to grab a win again. You know, when you let someone come from the back of the grid to winning the race, what a psychological advantage this is for Toxic. A dream start to his season.
Absolutely, what a way to start the season. What a way to stamp your authority on the championship, to have a poor qualifying like he did and come all the way from the back to the front on an alternate strategy and win the race. Like you say, that is such a psychological boost from Toxic, who knows that he has great pace. No matter where he starts in the field at the moment, it looks like he has a shot at victory, so never count Toxic out for a race win. And obviously, in my TTL commentary days as well, we've seen Toxic at the Bahrain win both the feature and the sprint race. This looks like a really solid track for Toxic in the future if we ever do another Formula 2 season as well. So Toxic, the king of Bahrain really, and he's going to win the feature race ahead of Larkin. Chill's going to just hold on for a podium in 3rd place. It's a Prema 1-3. What a great start to their their manufacturers championship as well. What a great start for them! But here we go, running through the rest of the top 10. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see how the penalty shook everything up in the end. But it is Toxic that wins the first race of the season ahead of Larkin in second. It's going to be Chill in third ahead of Verstappen, who holds on to fourth just over his teammate, even with front wing damage. That is a great drive from Verstappen, regardless of where he finished. Campbell in fifth ahead of Game Boys in sixth. Philippe in seventh. Ling takes reverse grid pole in eighth place ahead of Kyle T in ninth, who just wasn't able to catch Ling at the end of the race. Tim is going to take 10th ahead of Alex in 11th. A bit of a poor showing for Uni Virtuosi, what could have been for them. Ahead of Jordan in 12th, Leon in 13th, Ibo in 14th, and Gary, the only retirement in this race on the exit of turn 8 towards the end of the race. But yeah, a win and a fastest lap in the first race. Could we really see Toxic take both wins today?
Well, I think it could well be a possibility, as we say. If you can go from if you can go from 14th to the top, then there's every chance you can go from P8 to the top. So yeah. I wouldn't rule out Toxic. Well, I definitely wouldn't rule out Toxic. As you said, never count Toxic out. And I think we've learned that after this one. Larkin, a solid drive still to second. And Chill, I guess Verstappen had a penalty unbeknownst to us, but he still really ringed that out. Get that podium and a good start to his season as well. Trident will be disappointed with that, considering where they started, 1 and 3. They'll have hope for more, and they will hope for more in the sprint race, which is just coming up now.
Absolutely, like you say, we tried it. There was prime opportunity for them to get a head start in the manufacturers with one of the Promos Toxic at the back of the field and then first and third on the grid, but unfortunately didn't work out for Trident in the end. They come home only 4th and 5th. What a race it could have been for them. Campbell had good pace, it seemed like. So did Verstappen, even with the front wing damage. So let's wait and see if they can challenge for the sprint race victory. But it's going to be Ling in the Chiru who's going to take reverse grid pole ahead of Philippe in second. Do you think either of those two could hold on and maybe take a win here?
Well, of course, with Ling, we know that his ability of avoiding penalties is quite remarkable. Yeah. So, no matter what, I think he could still be in contention. It really depends, though, on how the scrapping goes. I don't know what I was saying there. How the scrapping goes down there in that midfield. Of course, a lot of drivers, as always in a reverse grid race, are going to be looking to move up, almost with a sense of authority over the other drivers, and that could lead to incidents. Hopefully it doesn't, but of course these guys are going to be watching out for each other in what could be a very, very exciting sprint race up ahead.
Absolutely, and just remember at the start of the sprint race as well, Danny Boy has joined the lobby, so he's the 16th person in the race. He couldn't join for the feature race, unfortunately, but he will be at the back of the grid in the dams for the sprint race. So let's see whether he's got any pace and whether he can work his way up to the top 8 and into the points. That would be interesting to see what his pace is for the rest of the season. But looking at the top 8 then, the reverse top 8, it's Ling from Philippe, Game Boys, Campbell, Verstappen, Chill, Larkin and Toxic in the top 8. Kyle just missing out on that reverse grid pole. But obviously everyone's going to be starting on the medium tyres. It did look like, though, people towards the end of their medium stint really struggled for pace. So it's going to be a case of who can hold on. It's actually Leon's on the softs by the looks of things. So he's going to have to make a pit stop at some point in this race. But do you think that the winner here is not necessarily going to be the fastest, but the one that can manage their medium tyres the best?
Well, we did see that, no, I don't think anyone went that long on the medium tyres. I could be mistaken, but very few drivers did at least. So they are going to be stretched and they are going to be struggling. And as you mentioned, I think that you could be right, or at least the drivers that keep their medium tyres alive for longer will get a higher position than they otherwise would have been. But of course, in a sprint race like this, the temptation is never to hold back. It's always to just race everyone else and get the best position you can. So it's a real psychological balance for the drivers. But I think the guy that gets the best balance between aggression and management is going to be the guy that does well here.
Absolutely, yeah. And another thing to look out for, like we said, with tyre management, we saw both Trident cars locking up massively front and rear tyres. Obviously, locking up the rears especially is going to really wear your rear tyres out. So that might be another problem with Trident, that they're struggling so much on the brakes at the moment that it could eventually actually end up wearing out their tyres. Especially with Verstappen, obviously he did have front wing damage, but Verstappen and Campbell's pace kind of faded towards the end of the feature race.
Yes, indeed. And of course, these... the Bahrain being a very brake limited circuit and very traction limited circuit as well. If you don't have grip in your tyres, then it's going to be really, really difficult to actually be able to put competitive lap times down. So these guys have got to try and keep it clean. Of course, they do have Toxic behind them, as well as, of course, Larkin, Chill, big names there. But they're going to have to be looking over their shoulder as well as looking ahead. That QVR contention running from 3rd to 6th is going to try and keep the two guys that finished 1 and 2 in the last race behind, as well as taking on the top 2, Philippe and Ling. We'll see how this goes then as we wait for the back of the grid to settle. And now we are about to get underway. 12 laps of Bahrain between us and the end of the session. Let's see how it all kicks off. 5 lights and away. Len gets a solid start away from the line, but a good second pace from Philippe's going to try and pull alongside and potentially pass there. It's a great start from Philippe, and he's car legs clear. Going towards turn 1 now. Campbell on the inside, looking to try and grab any sort of position he can. Round the outside goes Game Boys, and round the outside also goes Kyle. Made a great start there. He tucks in just behind Verstappen, and now coming under pressure from Chell and Toxic. Larkin it is who's dropped back off the start there. Great start from Kyle. We've got yellows down there in sector 1. That's Alex round at turn 2. As further back there, side by side, it's Verstappen and Game Boys round the outside. Verstappen tries to grab that 4th place, and does there. Game Boys has to tuck in behind in that 5th position, but it's Philippe that's made the start there. 6-10's clear, as now those two Trident drivers running 3 and 4, they're going to go on the offensive there. Further down the field though, Larkin's going to try and make up for that bad start. He is round the outside of Toxic, battling away with those two Prema cars. He's wheel to wheel, going down into turn 9 and 10. It's such a tricky corner to go side by side, but Larkin has the line on the inside. Can Toxic hang it round and maybe get traction? They will bang a little bit, but Toxic has a slightly better drive off the corner, but it is not over yet. They're still going to go battling it out. Toxic on the outside. Larkin has to get cut off, has to back out of it last minute after sensational fighting, as Chell is also able to neck his way past Kel potentially. Kel comes back on the inside there. What a first lap we're seeing. Very late on the brakes in a turn 13, but the switchback comes through from Chell and back up alongside, going down towards the penultimate and final corners on the lap. Watch Campbell as well. He is side by side on the brakes, looks to get in front of Len, but runs wide, and Len gets back underneath him there for traction off of turn 15, and they are wheel to wheel. What a first lap we are seeing. Philippe just about able to get in front, and you can see now as we're getting a little bit of timing issues, but it's Len that's having to fend off in front of these guys there. Down the inside goes Campbell, and he's going to try and pull that one off there. Cuts across going into turn 2, and Verstappen follows through. That's what the Trine drivers wanted, and now they could go to war as well. I'm sorry I've been talking for so long, but this is so much action, I don't know where to look here.
I don't know where to look either. What a great start we've seen. That is a perfect start for Philippe. He absolutely launched off the line, and he is gone out in front. He's got such a gap over the Trident cars, but now they're going to be coming at him. They've got free air, and they're going to be coming at Philippe now. It looks like Ling's really struggling for pace in the opening stages. He's dropped to 4th already. The two Prema cars. Oh! Was there contact maybe? Was there contact with his teammate, or was it rear locking maybe catching Verstappen out once again? Verstappen compromised in the sprint race as well as the feature. He's going to drop behind Premas by the looks of things he is. He slots in just in front of Larkin, but he's behind Toxic and Chill now, who are now up into 5th and 6th. Again, a boost there for Prema. They're ahead of one of the Trident cars. It's Campbell now in 2nd. 2.2 seconds off the lead. He's got some time to make up on Philippe. Looking in further behind, Ling's back into the podium places, but Game Boys is now starting to catch him in the MP Motorsport. Chill and Toxic in 5th and 6th ahead of Verstappen in 7th. Toxic actually having a look at his teammate there into turn 12. That'd be amazing if he can pull it off, but he's not quite close enough to make the move. He's a little bit wide as well. He's probably going to pick up a warning for that mistake there on the exit of turn 12 before turn 13. Chill gets a little bit squirrely. Toxic's up the inside. Is he going to go for a move at the final corner? He's got such momentum coming out of turn 13 towards turn 14. He's going to slot in front of his Prema teammate. Toxic already up into 5th. He's working his way through methodically and really fast at the moment. Kyle T, meanwhile, has fallen back down to 9th after a brilliant start. Here comes Larkin down the inside of Verstappen now. Verstappen really struggling now after that little error, and Larkin's down the inside for 7th. Chill trying to come back at his teammate, but it looks like he's backed off of a move. He's not going to go for the inside of the corner, and Larkin down the inside of Verstappen. Can he get the move stuck into turn 1? He's got the line for turn 2. He's just slightly ahead. Verstappen sticks it down the inside. We saw this at the start of the feature race, but Larkin's going to have the momentum and is ahead coming through turn 3. Verstappen falling like a stone. Larkin works back up into 7th place after a relatively poor start, and Verstappen again compromised in a race.
Indeed he was. There was that rear locking that caught him out yet again and dropped him back and losing several places there. Philippe is beginning to get reeled in, but Campbell is really stretching his legs. What's Toxic? He's down the inside of the MP Motorsport car of Game Boys. Can he get that one stopped? There's contact between them. I think there might have been lag there, but Game Boys spinning Toxic, who goes down near the back of the grid. Another better blow for Toxic. Now outside of the top 10, and wow, he is going to mount a decline now. Toxic coming together with QVR Game Boys, and now from fighting for the podium, potentially even looking at another win. Now he's got so many cars between him and the front there, and an immense amount of work to do for Toxic now.
That is a disaster for Toxic. Obviously, contact with Game Boys did look like a desync on our end, and that is why Toxic is now down into 11th place. He's outside the top 10. He's got some work to do, like you say. Let's see how far he can get back up the field. Meanwhile, Game Boys having a look at Ling for third. Campbell is catching Philippe hand over fist. They're disappearing, the top two at the moment. Ling has got a little bit of a train formula behind. Game Boys can't make a move just yet. We're on lap 3, so DRS is enabled, so he will have DRS down the pit straight. Ling is not close enough to Campbell to capitalise on DRS, so let's see if Game Boys can get a move stuck. But Ling very fast coming out of turn 14. Campbell sets the fastest lap of the race, a 41.1. No one really able to match that at the moment. Is Game Boys close enough to Ling down into turn 1? Ling's not going to defend the line. Game Boys goes to the inside, but Ling laid on the brakes. He's going to have the momentum around the outside. Is he? No, Ling goes deep into turn 1 in the end. Game Boys is going to take third. Is he? He's just about going to take it around the outside towards turn 3. Is Ling going to come back at him? Meanwhile, Campbell's only 2 tenths behind Philippe. Campbell going for the outside of turn 4. Is he going to go all the way around the outside of Philippe? He's got so much momentum. He's got the grip on the outside of the corner. Philippe's going to have the inside though for the next one. Philippe's just about going to hold on ahead of the Trident man, and Game Boy's just out. Or is he? No, Campbell's going to go all the way around the outside. Round the outside of turn 6. What a move from Campbell. He takes the race lead, but he's caught out by rear locking. Philippe's come back at him on the exit of turn 8, but Campbell just about holds on to the race lead. Meanwhile, Ling has fallen to 6th. He's fallen behind Game Boy Still and Larkin in the space of 3 corners.
And Toxic Rowdy outside of Tim, going down towards turn 9. He breaks much later, and he's just about able to get that stopped. He now runs 10th into that top 10 now, but he's still got room to make up now. He's up behind Danny. Can he pull a move? Potentially going into turn 11, closing on the downs, and now to the inside. Breaks later, tries to get that one stopped. Does he manage it? There was a bit of contact between them. Toxic almost goes round on the exit there, but Danny has to just about yield that, and into turn 12, a bit of a scrappy move. Toxic in front though, up to 9th, and now he's looking to chase down on that train up ahead.
Yeah, a bit of a scrappy move from Toxic, trying desperately to make up for the contact he had. Game Boys has left the session from 3rd place. Game Boy seems to have some sort of internet problem and he's left the session. That is such a shame for him, running in the podium places. This could have been a podium for him. Chill's going to inherit 3rd place, or is he though? Larkin, after his relatively poor start, is absolutely flying at this point in the race. He's on the back of the Premier Man for 4th place on the road. Larkin's going to go to the inside. He's going to breeze past in the straight line. Toxic sets the fastest lap of the race. Larkin breezes past Till in the straight line, is up into 4th. Make that 3rd when he passes Game Boy's AI car. Larkin's coming through the field nicely. Ling and Verstappen now side by side. Ling's going to hold on ahead against Verstappen. He keeps 6th place for the time being, and here comes Kyle to the back of them. Game Boys has rejoined the session, but unfortunately he's not going to take control of the car before Larkin passes him. Kyle looking to the inside of Verstappen, who makes a little bit of a mistake once again. Kyle down the inside on the exit of turn 4, but looks like Verstappen's going to have the momentum now down into turn 6. He's just going to hold on to the place, but Kyle is swarming all over the back of Verstappen, who is still struggling for pace at the moment, down in 7th, and is really being reeled in by Toxic now as well. But looking at the front of the field, Campbell now a 2nd clear of Philippe. It looks almost dead set for Campbell at this point, doesn't it?
Yeah, 4.5 laps in it already, managing to pull out a bit of an advantage at the front there. I'm watching Kyle, he's getting very close to the back of Verstappen there, all over him, but Toxic is making ground and making it up quickly, past Game Boy's AI car now and up into 8th, and he is now with this trade, but it being a DRS trade, overtaking is going to be very tricky, and these guys are going to have to pick their opportunities wisely. Ling is losing out though. He's lost contact with the back of QVR Chill, and that means now no DRS. He is going to be under heavy pressure now from Verstappen. We'll see how that unfolds going down the main straight. Looking at that podium fight though, and the 2 Arden cars are getting closer. Larkin getting into that DRS range of Philippe up ahead, so he's chasing another 2nd place. We have very handy haul of points towards his championship standings, and I think Larkin could be a real contender for this season. Look at what we've seen so far. Now, Toxic side by side with Kyle, trying to claim that 7th place there and stake his claim on the championship. He is wheel to wheel as Verstappen, a very late lunge on Ling. Though just went back to last minute. Ling was late on the brakes as well. Kyle has to yield that position, but look at Verstappen now, gets a much better drive off 3, and now looks to the inside towards 4. Ling does not have DRS to defend, and Verstappen has DRS to attack, so the inside line is his, gets it stopped, but round the outside goes Ling. He's not giving this one up there. Verstappen squeezes him onto the outside curb, but can he hold on there? Round the outside goes Ling, round turn 6, and he's just managed to pull that off, but the switchback comes through for Verstappen, and now to the outside, going into turn 8 there, turn 7, sorry, sensational stop there. They are still wheel to wheel on exit, but Verstappen just about gets the traction out now. Watch Toxic. He's wheel to wheel down the inside. What a late lunge from Toxic. Can he pull that one off? There's a little bit of wheel to wheel contact, but he gets through as well. What racing here on what had been a sensational stuff so far. And now Chill ready instead of Philippe for the podium. Can he do that one at turn 11 there? He might just about pull it off there. Philippe stuck on the outside, going into 12, and Chill's pulled that one off there. Action everywhere, overtakes everywhere, and we're only halfway through this race, and I've seen just such an obscene amount of action. Unbelievable stuff so far.
Absolutely unbelievable. I think Philippe was compromised by a move from Larkin at turn 8 of all places on his teammate. Sent it down the inside of Philippe at turn 8, and Philippe got caught out by it, and that's how Chill was able to capitalise. So Philippe from a potential podium down to 4th. He is close enough though to the back of Chill to maybe get back at him down into turn 1. Chill doesn't have DRS to defend. Is Philippe going to be close enough? It doesn't look like he quite has the momentum coming out the final corner, or does he? He's closing in rapidly towards the end. Is he going to be late enough on the brakes? He has a look to the inside, but he doesn't go for the move. Chill's going to hold on to P3 for the time being. Meanwhile, further in behind, Toxic pushing Verstappen through turn 1. He's still got so much pace in that car despite that spin earlier on. He's coming back. He's nearly back in the top 5 already, and it's only lap 7 in this race. Toxic coming back at Verstappen. Is he going to go for a move at turn 4? He's got DRS open. He looks to the inside again. A late lunge at the inside of turn 4. Verstappen gives in the room instead of obviously what Larkin did in the feature race. Verstappen gives him plenty of room and basically gives P5 up to Toxic, who's back into the top 5 already. And Ling's still on the back of these guys trying to get past. Verstappen trying to do the switchback move again down towards turn 8. I think Larkin's gone off the road. Larkin's gone off the road. Yeah, he's made a mistake coming out of turn 7 by the looks of things. Toxic's going to just hold on to P5 ahead of Verstappen coming out of turn 8 towards turn 9 and 10. But yeah, Toxic already back into the top 5, still on for a shot at a podium here. And Larkin, a potential maybe trying to catch Campbell, made a little mistake and has dropped another second further behind.
Yeah, it's a long road ahead now for Larkin if he wants another race win. But of course, Campbell, he did get a penalty in the last race. He's got to be careful. He cannot afford to make mistakes. There's still a lot of pressure on the Scotsman, but he is certainly in the power seat at the moment and heading for another race win. I'm seeing Game Boy's connection is dropping and just coming back, but I think that he's not going to be able to take control of his car in a decent position from now until the end of the race, as I think finally the race begins to settle down.
It's been a lot of work so far this strip race, hasn't it? But yeah, Larkin is steadily catching Campbell ever so slightly. I think before that mistake, Larkin was catching Campbell as well, but that mistake has obviously given Campbell a little bit of a breather. But Chill's kind of coming with him, and Toxic is only 1.2 seconds behind Philippe. So can Toxic still steal a second place out of this race? We've seen him go through a train of cars already in front, and he could do it again here.
He's got 5 laps to pull off 3 overtakes for Toxic. I don't think that's too much of a stretch for Verstappen as well, managing to use that DRS to good effect, and he is coming with Toxic. So the train now looking to maybe converge as Philippe struggling to stay afloat. He has done a very admirable job because he's managed to put cars to himself and Ling, who he shared the front row with. So he has done a very admirable task so far, but now he has Toxic, defending champion, Verstappen, P3 last season. Now has a lot of pressure on his shoulders if he wants to hold P4, and so much pedigree and experience behind him. Philippe is going to have a real job on his hands to keep it behind. Sphering off to the side, Chill out of turn 10. He holds it together, but that's a big time loss for him now, and he drops back. Now, Toxic looking onto the back. Late lunge at turn 11 there. Philippe gives him the space on the inside, but gets better momentum on the outside, and so he may just hold on to P4. Toxic still trying it around the outside of 12. Maybe look for a switchback and dive it into turn 13. That's exactly what he's going to do, but he's got to be careful. Bit of contact between them there. Philippe a little bit more feisty this time, but now Toxic grabs traction on the exit of the penultimate corner and sweeps through into 4th place there. A fighting performance from Toxic after the drama earlier on with Game Boys, but now Verstappen's going to have to try and follow through, or Philippe, can he come back? And if does Toxic have to get DRS? Yes, he does. That could be enough to try and hold him out in front, but he is waving, ducking and waving, trying to break that slipstream behind him there. Philippe closer than ever, but not close enough as Verstappen looks towards that inside line. Philippe wide, and Verstappen trying to be opportunistic there. Side by side through turn 1, side by side through turn 2, and through 3. Verstappen struggled on traction, but now he's coming back at him there. They're absolutely level going down towards 4. Does Philippe have enough in it to hang it around the outside of QBR Verstappen? We'll see. He breaks very late, but maybe too late there. Runs it out way, and Verstappen into the top 5 finally. Moves through after a mistake earlier on. He is up into 5th place now, and also on a good comeback drive, as now he's lost contact with Toxic up ahead, but they're battling as well behind, because Leg trying to dispossess Philippe on that 6th place, claims the inside line, going into turn 9, but Philippe very late on the brakes. He's rounding outside through 9 and 10. Can he get that one done? He may have better traction on the exit, and they are still level, but Leg will have the inside line going down towards turn 11, and it might be enough, but further up the road the Premas are battling away there. Chill trying to hold on to the podium, but out wide, and Toxic is through. He has passed QVR Chill. He has passed them all practically, and now he is up into P3 and maybe in range of Larkin to ever count Toxic out, and he is chasing after P2 there. Can he get that done?
He could get it done. Just a reminder, if anyone's joined this race late, Toxic actually spun early on this race. You wouldn't believe it. Toxic spun down to 11th place. He's worked his way back up onto the podium already. What it could have been without that spin. He could have been battling Campbell for the race lead. Speaking of Campbell, we haven't spoken about him much in this race. He's still out in front by 2.3 seconds. Him and Larkin matching pace as Toxic sets the fastest lap of the race. Yeah, Larkin and Campbell running at a pretty similar pace. It's now whether Toxic can catch Larkin for second, really. And can he drag Chill with him after Chill's little error? He dropped further back from Larkin. Can he get back in touch with Larkin if Toxic drags him with him as well, looking further back as well? So Philippe picking up a time penalty. He's down to 7th. He's nearly 3 seconds clear of Kyle, who's currently running in 8th ahead of his Dams teammate Danny Boy in 9th, who was under pressure from Tim actually. Tim gets a great run through turn 3. Coming up towards turn 4, he goes to the inside line. Toxic now picks up a 3-second time penalty. That could be costly for him today, as down the inside goes Tim at turn 4. He's going to have the momentum on the inside as he forces Danny Boy out wide, and Tim is going to take P9 ahead of the Dams man. Good comeback from Tim after a little mistake early on in the race. He's back up into 9th place. Can he catch Carl T for P8? He's only 1.6 seconds further back, and he looks to have the pace to do so. So good comeback from him. But yeah, second time penalty could cost him a shot here at P2.
Indeed it could there, so Larkin might have room to breathe. He's still matching Campbell pretty much for pace there. That gap still about 2.3 seconds, so it might just about be enough for him if Campbell picks up a penalty. So Campbell's going to have to watch that, but it's just over. 2 laps between us and the checkered flag. Prema and Trident could go to war there as Verstappen hoods in on QVR Chill. We'll see if those positions change hands in the final 2 laps of this race. Hopefully 2 more laps of action. It's been an enthralling sprint race. So much action all the way through the field. It's been so enjoyable. We'll see if it keeps it up as Chill with a little bit of a wiggle off that final traction. So the final corner on the track as Lang picks up a penalty. That's uncharacteristic. Now Verstappen though, with DRS, with slipstream, over 300 kilometers an hour. He's got everything in attack, pulls towards the inside on QBR Verstappen, locking up brakes. There may be a little bit of contact. Chill was not making it easy for him, pinched him going into turn 1, now through turn 2. Chill gets his nose in front, but the DRS getting in with Verstappen, but he also gets himself a 3-second penalty for his troubles. And now they are wheel to wheel again. Verstappen with the inside line. Chill trying to hang it round, trying to go the long way round. The traction is with Verstappen though, and he has the lane going in at turn 6. Yellows up in sector 2. Well, I don't know what's going on there, but Chill is still round the outside, and now down the inside. Great effort from Chill, but can he see it through? Verstappen fairly on the brakes, parks the car on the apex, and finally into 4th place. But with that penalty, he's going to have to do some work in the last lap and a half of this race if he wants any chance of keeping that P4.
Yeah, he's going to have to really try hard to keep up with Verstappen here and take P4. That battling between Verstappen and Chill has saved Toxic, losing his podium to either of those two. He's now 3, both of them, and obviously Verstappen with a time penalty himself. It was only really Chill that could take the podium from Toxic, and Chill now is well off the back of his teammate. So Toxic looking safe in 3rd. He's catching Larkin ever so slightly, but not by enough at the moment to really challenge for 2nd place. The top 3 look set in stone at the moment as we're coming towards the final lap of the race. Looking further behind as well, excelling. Good comeback after a relatively poor start to this race. He fell through the field very quickly, but he's levelled out his pace. He's keeping up with the likes of Verstappen and Chill now in front and pulling away from Philippe. He looks like he's got into a rhythm now in this race as Leon picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. Philippe in 7th has 2 time penalties, I think, so he could lose out to both Dams cars here. Kyle is actually being caught by Danny Boy and Tim as well. They're both catching Kyle for P8 at the moment. Meanwhile, further behind as well, Game Boys looks like he's finally got control of his car. He's in 11th place. Let's see whether he can maybe capitalise on people's penalties in front. Gary in 12th. Looking further down as well, Jordan, Alex, Leon and Ibo round off the finishes at the moment. But yeah, we're on to the final lap, and Campbell, so far, it's been a bit of a breeze this race for him, hasn't it?
Yeah, of course, claiming that lead in the first few laps of the race has done wonders for QBR Campbell. Of course, sprint race was a case of what could have been. for him after a spin early on, but he is certainly made up for it in this race, just as long as he keeps it together on this final lap. Pressure on his shoulders, but he's got enough experience, I'm sure, to see it through. Larkin, what a day it's been for Larkin, and what a day for Toxic. Those two will have surely be 1 and 2 in the standings there, both of them heading for double podiums. They have done an absolutely sterling job, and Toxic will lead the championship. Larkin will keep him honest in those standings, and those two have been the class of the field today, and they will be heading for well-earned podiums yet again here in the sprint race.
Absolutely, and what a rue the day really for Trident, isn't it? What could have been for them? Only a first in the sprint race is still a great result for Campbell, but still 4th and 5th in the feature race has really cost them maybe a shot, as Larkin runs really wide there through turn 13, gets back on the track without picking up a penalty, so he gets away with it. But we're coming to the final 2 corners of the lap. Campbell comes round turn 14 and 15. He's going to win the first sprint race of the season here at Bahrain. He's going to come across the line, make up for a poor feature race with a sprint race win. Commanding win the end for Campbell. He's going to cross the line and take it ahead of Larkin in second, and it's going to be Toxic who picks up 3rd place on the podium. Verstappen's going to come home 4th. He doesn't steal the podium off Toxic, obviously, with that penalty, but Chill steals P4 off of Verstappen, so Verstappen again compromised. He falls back down to 5th. Ling holds on to 6th ahead of Kyle T, who ends up in 7th ahead of Danny Boy 8th. Tim 9th, and Philippe drops all the way down to 10th with those 2 time penalties, and we're just waiting for the rest of the finishers. Game Boys can't recover after that early disconnection. He's only 11th, and Gary only 12th as well after another poor showing in the sprint race. What a race that was. I'm a bit out of breath after that one, but Christ almighty, that was a great race. But Campbell in the end took a very commanding win.
Indeed he did, and yeah, my voice is certainly not in good shape after that one, but yeah, an absolutely fantastic race, absolute cracker, and that makes me really excited for what the rest of the season has to offer. Toxic, though, considering they had mishaps and qualifying and in the sprint race, and he's still going to leave Bahrain with the championship lead. I think that's very ominous ahead of this season there, and I think the rest of the grid is going to be very, very worried about that raw speed that Toxic has shown there. And in terms of actual pace, I think that he's clearly the class of the field. The rest of the drivers out there, they're going to have to try and find an answer to that.
Yeah, it looks like the rest of the season at the moment is going to be playing catch-up to Toxic, and it looks like Toxic's closest challengers at the moment is Larkin. It doesn't look like either of the Trident cars quite has the pace to match Toxic. The only one really that kind of matched Toxic's pace at points in either the feature or the sprint race was Larkin. So a good performance from Larkin today in the Arden. He's done a great job. He's definitely improved from last season. So have a look out for Larkin maybe as a bit of an underdog championship contender here. He looks very consistent. 2 second places in the first rounds of the season. He looks like the closest challenger to Toxic at the moment.
Yes, indeed. But of course, it can all change. Those Trident boys can certainly regroup. Of course, also, you can take into account track-to-track pace. Toxic might not be that imperious at every track this season, but despite a little bit of a chaotic session, he's still walking away with a lot of points to his name. Campbell, though, it is, who takes the win in the sprint race and kind of keeps his hopes alive. Of course, very early days in this championship, but he's done well there. A good, solid win for Campbell, and that's going to really boost his confidence ahead of the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Running through the rest of the sprint race order then, so it's Campbell that wins from Larkin in second, Toxic third, Chill fourth, Verstappen fifth, Ling in sixth from pole position ahead of Carl T in seventh. Danny Boy from very last on the grid comes home with P8. Good race from him in the Dams car. Tim is in 9th ahead of Philippe, drops down to 10th after 2 penalties. Game Boy's in 11th ahead of Gary, 12th, Jordan 13th, Alex in 14th, Leon in 15th, and Ibo rounds off the finishes in 16th place. But yeah, at the end of today's race, who's going to take driver of the day? I think I know who you're going to give driver of the day to, but just for formality, who are you going to give driver of the day to?
Yeah, it has to be Toxic. But I will also give a nod to Larkin, because I think that he, as you mentioned, he was the driver that got the most out of it there. Very little in the way of errors from Larkin. And I think that overall, he got as many points as he could have got out of the races today. So a nod to Larkin as well. He put up a great performance today.
Absolutely, I definitely agree with you on that one. That was Toxic obviously showed the outright speed, but Larkin did a great job at making the best of every situation he was in, coming home with 2 second places. Yeah, great stuff from them, and it looks like the Prema pairing really at the moment look like the strongest manufacturer. Till doing a solid job in both races to come home with a 3rd and a 4th. Prema going to take the lead in the manufacturers into the second round of the championship. It's all going to be about playing catch up now for Trident, isn't it?
It is indeed, but of course, I know those guys well. They are going to be very hungry to try and fight back. So do not count them out just yet. We know the speed they have, we know the pedigree they have. So I'm looking forward to see how they make up for that slightly mediocre performance later on in the season. We're just gonna have to wait and see.
Absolutely, yeah. So we'll have to wait and see for the next round to see who comes out on top in the next round of the championship. Obviously, we are following the full Formula One calendar for this season. We will be following that instead of the Formula 2 calendar. So next time out, we will be at Vietnam. Of all tracks, that is going to be something to behold. We know Vietnam is a pretty tricky track to drive. Looking at Vietnam next week, I think there's someone to look out for really at Vietnam is going to be Larkin. We saw him make really no errors at all during that, apart from one area in the sprint race. He had a very clean race. Maybe he could. It looks like he could be a real threat at Vietnam.
Yeah, because it is a track that, especially because a lot of the drivers aren't very used to Vietnam, of course. It's a new track on the F1 games. A lot of them are still trying to hone their skills around it, and making as little mistakes as possible is going to be very crucial. So I agree with you. I'm going to say Larkin, a dark horse for that race as well, and as a whole, a dark horse for the championship. Watch out for him at every race, I'd say.
Absolutely, yeah. Consistency is key in Formula 2. You've got to make up for any bad situations. So if you have a bad feature race, you've got to make up for it in the sprint race. And it looks like Larkin is the one at the moment who's the most consistent. Great result from 2 second-place finishes, as we said. But that is where we are going to round off today's stream, guys. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for the first round of the season. We finally got there in the end. It took us about a week, but we got through the first round of the championship. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Daka, for joining me in the comments box, as per usual, for Formula 2. And that is where we're going to round off. So tune in next week for Vietnam. It's going to be a great race. Tune in as well for the rest of the LOE action throughout the week. So we've got all divisions on Saturday from 6:40. So tune in for those as well. They will be at Bahrain themselves as well. So from myself and Daka, it is goodbye.